Okay? So this is class number 14. And the title that we have over here is the approach to Simcha. Is being positive a contradiction to being realistic, right? That's the title we have. So let's start off. The first point to start off with is a description of the two feelings we have in the sense of really contradicting feelings that we have in life. The first paper, not the letter. The first paper. We'll start with the hand, I'll get the letter in the end. First we'll have a general outlook, and then we'll get to the letter and see how the Rebbe talks about this. So the first point that we have to focus on is really identifying two conflicting feelings we have. It's going to be a pseudo feeling and a chomer feeling, to put the words of Chassidus. So let's see how it plays out in life. There's a feeling that we have, which is a feeling of a hope, inspiration, a feeling of uplifting, a feeling where a person says anything can happen. Really, it's a feeling of a neshama. It's a feeling of energy. Yeah. And then a second later, you have another feeling. Relax, take a deep breath, be practical, be grounded. There's a time and place for everything, which is the Hadbol of Zaman and Mokim, which is the world we live in. Be grounded, don't start flying too high, and realize that all these aspirations are not relax. So one second. So there's a tug-war. There's two conflicting feelings that we can identify, the Chaim, Hayoim Yoim, in every single day life, and they're coming from two opposite places. One seems like it's coming from the guf, and one seems like it's coming from the neshama, from energy, from whatever word, from Suda, from neshama. And really, this is a frustration that we have all the time. So you have this Yisoidus and after the fall, and then you say ground, then you say, so forget it. Maybe the whole thing is not. This is the frustration that we have the whole time. So the question really we have to ask, what's the role of guf and what's the role of neshama? If to put it in simple words, is there really such a thing as hope in a practical way? Is the word hope and inspiration, is the word feeling uplifted, is it a moment where guf is void and you're dangerous, you're ignoring your guf? Relax, you're not being real. Or is it, or the other way around? I'm ignoring my ability. I can, in English we say an expression, I'm only human. I'm only human. Relax. And then we say, I'm human. I can do anything. You can say the word I'm human and you can sing it in two different tones. Right. You're a human. What do you mean? Humans. They can go to the Levana. You can do this. You can do that. And then you say, I'm only human. You can sing it in two different ways, but it comes from two different places. So what the proper balance between the two? I mean, at the end of the day, guf and neshama partners. So there's got to be a role for each one. How do they play out their roles? They seem like they're hacking each other over the head all the time. What's the proper way how they play? And Simcha is essentially a moment where they're playing together. That's what Simcha is. That's what Simcha is. Simcha is a moment they're playing together. But what really happens at that moment? Where does it come from? Let's go to guf and neshama and see how it says on the Siddur is called Suda and Chomer. There's Suda and the Chomer. Suda and neshama.
The exact definition of surah.
Surah is energy, surah is a moment of inspiration, surah is uplifting, surah is hope. All of these feelings are surah. All of these feelings are feelings in English. They're feelings that have no time and space. Anything, anywhere. People talking, you think, and then suddenly a moment later you tell them, there's a time and space for everything. Stop it. So there's a conflicting, surah is no time, no space, anything. The moment you say the sky is the limit, the moment you say all these kinds of words that show on, there's surah. There's just, I'm able to take myself and lift it out of time and space. That's the moment of Surah.
What were the adjectives you used?
Well, I showed you on the first point of your handout. That's the adjectives I put there. Adjectives of anything possible versus depends, let's see, but, yes, I hear, I heard. That's that conflicting versus vice. The moment you say anything possible, that's Surah. The moment you say, but, you have to see, that means you're grounding yourself in the world of Zman and Makan. There's a place and time for everything. The next, the sky is the limit. That's Surah. There's time and place for everything. That's Chaimer. That's the good. These are two conflicting. I'm not in the mood. I'm feeling worn out. That's being pulled down. Then you say, let's make it happen. That's Surah, right? You're picking yourself up. A person says, I'm only human, I can't. Oh, that's Chaimer, being pulled down. Human, we can do it. We went to the Lamana, we're going to go to the Mars. Actually, that's the word of Surah. So you have moments of uplift and you have moments of being pulled. Surah and Chaimer. So how does the Guf and the Neshama get along? That's the first point we have to understand. Really, what is Guf? What is Neshama? How do they get along? These are two opposites that get together. How does this chasna work? How does it work? So in order to understand this, there's going to be another question. And really, it's just an observation. And that is, if we take a look at Guf and Neshama, particularly humans, seemingly, what's between these two feelings? Which one do we identify as a normal state of a person, and which one do we identify as a problem? When a person feels worn out, oh, you're very normal, very good, that's how you're human, that's amazing, I'm very proud of you, you're very worn out, you're a normal person. Person feels like, I can't do it, very hard, very good, you're very grounded, I'm very happy, this is amazing, you're really living up to the humans. This is what humans are all about, being worn out and not being able to do something. How do we respond naturally? Which one identifies us, and which one do we feel like, no, it's not me? Naturally, everyone identifies with, interestingly enough, with Surah. Motivation, hope, we look as the ultimate human, not a subhuman. Motivation is when you're pulled down. The opposite is a moment of, I can't. You look at a moment that I can't, something's wrong with me. Why do I feel that way? I'm just observation, not exclamation. We feel within ourselves in the moment, not only Jewish, human. This is across. People don't look. In other words, let me phrase it this way. People don't look at a hopeful person as a sick person. I aspire to be that way too. I put him in a psychiatric ward. I'm showing that he's hopeful. No, you can't be hopeful. You have to stay within your. We don't look at it that way. In other words, humans naturally feel and identify with hope. It's an observation. We have to understand it. Interesting, although we're made out of both, we identify with hope as who we are. Why is that? I'm going to get to the why. I just want to first make the observation of the what. We'll get to the why. But first you have to first you have to observe what Guf and Nefesh is.
But is it okay to be realistic?
We'll get. First, let's start from step one. Step one is identify Guf and Neshama. Step two is identify how we naturally as humans identify. Where do we identify? Which one do we identify with? Which one is considered a normal person? And which one do we consider escapish? I have to work on this. This is not the way I should be. Which one do we identify as this is a normal, the hopeful? So we identify naturally with hope. Interestingly enough, although it would seem the other way around, we should be identifying with grounded. We're in this world. We're in a place of everything has a time and space. Why should a person born in time and space identify with hope? Hope seems like the Malachim should hope. We're an observation that has to be explained. Now we have an observation. Now let's give a paradigm to explain this. Now let's try to understand this. Let's give a paradigm to explain. So this gives an explanation, an example. Also, it's an example, a dugma, to the chibur of nefesh and guf. It's a very interesting thing. You have two opposites, two conflicting realities. They're coming together in one person, and the person is drawn towards one of them as their identity. What's really going on? So there's a muscle given from two authors. Whenever you read a book, there's two kinds of books you can read. Atheist is the muscle from atheist. You can read a book, and the story is popping out of the words. And you finish reading, and you're like, that was an experience. It wasn't a book, it was an experience. You could go left up. You read it. And we say it in English, the story is like popping out of the words. I don't even feel words. It's like a story. That's such a beautiful experience. Then you read a book and you're like, not going. This word, that word, what is he trying to say? Oh, now I get what he's trying to say, but it doesn't flow. The words. It's a talented author. We're going to get to it in a second. There's a talent in an author how to write. There's a talent on how words pour into the story. We're going to discuss this. It's not just a coincidence. There's a reason why certain authors are able to write certain kinds of books. It's not just the topic. It's how they write those words. But first, let's see what happens in those books. Those books that you're reading it, an experience is flowing out of the book. It's almost like the words are crying out a story, a message. They're like saying, I'm part of a bigger picture. Don't look at me as an organ, another organ. I'm shouting out this picture that's flowing out to me. You know where it comes from? I'll explain where it comes from. There's two authors. Both went to the same school. Both have the same education. Both have the same vocabulary. One of them writes a book, and it's a book that experience flows into the words. And one of them, it doesn't. The Nafkeen is like this. One of them, before he writes the book, he looks out and he says, what's the best word to use? Makes a survey. What's the best? How am I gonna bring out the story based on? That's a good word. That's a good word to use. Okay, that's one author. The other author closes his eyes and imagines him being in that place and experiences the story and then allows the words to flow out of that experience. So the words were born in a story. They never had an identity, but those words were born out of a story. So when you read those words, they're geschmacker words because that's how it works. Real authors have gifts. They have a gift. I'll give you another example. A singer. A real singer who sings, you ask him, how was that show? So there's two kinds of singing. A real singer's going to say, I love that song. That song was so amazing. I felt so good singing that song, and the smiles on people's faces. That's it. That's the other author. The ticket sales weren't so good, so I'm not so sure if she's not a singer. A real gift, the words are flowing from the gift. So essentially, let me bring this down practically. Essentially, what is it?
Doesn't it depend to some degree on the reader? I know that sometimes when I'm in the author, I don't comprehend and I don't have the same feelings to the same author.
In reading, yes, of course, you can. Reading is dependent on the reader. But even when you're in the mood, if you're reading a book of a not good author, it's not going to help you if you're in a good mood. It's not a good author. So at the end of the day, we're referring to the author. Let me.
Different stories. Different people play the different.
That's true. So even within the gender of stories that a person likes, even within that category, there's going to be many authors. Some books you're going to feel, you're captured by the story. The story. Yeah, they had better publishers or not, but when you're captured, when those moments of the story coming out, that's a gifted author. A gifted author is not saying words based on scripted, fancy marketing guys telling him what to say. It's not going to work.
He has to say it and allow it to flow out of his experience. Now, let me bring this in a practical way. Essentially, what this means, essentially what this means, let me bring this out now. There are two kinds of relationships. And Guf and Nefesh and Oisius have a unique relationship. It's a relationship of a talmud, of a student. Words are begging, please define me. Give me an experience that I can shout out. Words, really, the function of words, they're begging, give me a good experience that I need to identify myself. I have no identity. I need to identify myself. They're begging, please give me an experience. I want to have an identity. That's what words are screaming. A good author allows the experience to go into words, and that's why the word screams out that story. And the same thing with Guf and Nefesh. Essentially, a body, the Eibishter created Guf in such a way that the Guf, and you see this in life, I'll show you how it plays out in life. A Guf is begging for a story. A Guf is begging for a purpose. A Guf is begging for a story. Give me a story to tell. Why don't you give me a story to tell? I feel so down. I need a story. You give me a story and I'm alive and I'm hopeful. Why don't you give me a story? I need a message. I need a purpose. The number one thing people seek is purpose. They need a story to tell. You give them a story, the Guf is alive. The Guf is alive. Because the Guf wants it. They should create a Guf in a fantastic way that it's seeking to be identified as a Talmud. That's why we give the example to Guf as a Keli. To students. It's like the NPR story I told a while ago. So I'll explain. It's going to come out. Like the example of the NPR example we gave a while ago, right? What's the idea of a Keli? There was an NPR reporter who interviewed a principal of a Lubavitcher was a principal in a school in a very high crime neighborhood. And right, remember the story? And he was interviewed. Why did he decide to take this school? So he explained he has a passion for teaching, and this is why he decided to come down there and give himself over. During the interview, he mentioned, I wasn't teaching; these kids would go out and eat. So this is a shivah that I have that I'm actually helping out. So the headline in the newspaper next day was "White man says black kids are going to go out and live." That was the headline in the newspaper. That's an example of not listening. Guf listens. Exactly the opposite. Guf is naturally waiting and listening. It's seeking a definition. It's hungry for a story. It's so beautiful, it's so true. Because the number, and that is the frustration. Really, at the core of frustrations, we'll get to in a second, the core of frustrations is a person feels they don't have a story. I'm lost. I don't have a story to tell. That's when frustrations happen. I don't have a purpose. I don't have a meaning. I'm not important. So now they're words, and they have no message, and the story is not flowing, and they feel like isolated, and it's dead. It's just a bunch of dead words. That's frustration. And that's Simcha. Simcha is essentially the moment that a person allows the Guf to feel Neshama. That's what Simcha is. That's Simchat HaChayim. Not Simcha as a high. Simcha as a high is something else. That's Yom Tov maybe. That's something else. But Simcha HaChayim, simply feeling that flow, that's when a person feels this purpose. Feels, I have something to me. Let's play this out. A few examples. Okay, you want to review it over here on the paper? Let's review it on the paper, then we'll play it out. So what do we have here? We had point number one. Point number one, so we have a review, and then we'll continue. Point number one highlighted the opposite descriptions of Guf and Neshama. How hope and grounded are essentially two opposites. That was point number one. And that leads us to point number two. That leads us to point number two, where what's the observation we have? What's really who we are? Hope. Pashut Begashi. People define humans as hopeful. I'm not hopeful. What's wrong with me? That's how we think. This is not spiritual. This is the Godliness how people think. What's the reason for it? We went to point number 3. Because the guf has a uniqueness that's not found in a regular domain. This is called the hachana klolis. The guf has a thirst for being defined. Similar to the opposite of the NPR reporter, which doesn't want to be defined. Similar to a Talmud. I'm seeking for something that I can internalize and make it my own. That's the kind of connection of guf. It's not partners. It's a Talmud and Rav. It's a student and teacher. So the guf is a student. The guf is seeking for a story to tell. That's essentially the function of the guf. It's going to tell the story in its organs, just like the story of the author needs those words to be able to tell the story, and it's going to flow in those words, and those words are going to be beautiful words, and a person who reads it is going to really live the story from those words. But the words themselves are empty and thirsty, and the moment they feel like they don't have a story is the moment that they feel void, and that's when it's stuck. So that's number 3.
Who's the teacher?
The teacher is the neshama.
You said something very fascinating.
What?
That the guf will tell a story in the organs.
The guf tells the story. It tells it. The one of the things that Rebbe writes, and we'll see that soon.
Posture, or is it just their body language?
It's throughout the whole body. All of them. Never respect. All of them.
But not only organs, also kleshus and chushim. In other words, the story of a person is told to the kleshus and chushim of a person. What does it mean, the story of a person? When a person recognizes their kleshus, their chushim, their area where they shine, their story, that's simcha. That's a moment that they belong, they're not lost, they matter, they're not unimportant, they're important. So that's the flow of surah, of neshama, saying, hey, I'm making your story alive. That's now, we're one.
You said the story of the business through the practice and what else?
Chushim. We'll see in a second example for that. Well, let's first get to the paradigm. So that's 4. That's how we get into 4. Now, in 4, I want to highlight one more thing. Many times you can have a heaviness, and we'll see this in the letter of the Rebbe that we're going to see soon. A person can have a heaviness, a blockage that the guf doesn't feel nefesh. And there could be physical things a person can do to allow that flow. For example, exercise. Right? A person can feel down, and exercise can awaken the blood flow, and then a person can rejuvenate. That's just taking away an extra heaviness of guf. But at the end of the day, the moment he's still going to need a story. Guf is not the answer to happiness. The story is the answer to happiness. There could be things we can do within our guf to allow the guf to accept, to be in a mode of accepting. But at the end of the day, accepting is key to coming one and to saying a story. I have to have a story. If I don't have a story, at the end of the day, I'm going to be back to square one. So I exercise and I feel energetic. Feeling energetic means to say, I feel, but now what? And we'll see that in a second. The Rebbe talks about this in the letter that the person writes to the Rebbe. So he writes how Simcha can come through manipulating guf. Shitas materialism. And the Rebbe quotes that. And the Rebbe calls it Shitas fanaticism. And how the Rebbe explains to him how the kesher of guf and nefesh, they turn one. And he's referring to these nekudas nechsidus. He talks of different things, and that it doesn't come from guf. It comes from surah. It comes from nefesh. In simple words, it comes from a person saying their story. He gives a few examples of there how real oisher, and a few examples in the end the person asks another question. Either kind of hippie or I don't know what. So he writes over there in the end, he says, I want the world to be only a shouldn't equality, like equality. There shouldn't be. So that ever writes, that's actually not a good aspiration, because everybody gives in different ways. Yeah, understand your kleshus, you can realize how you give. He says, yeah, you can daven. There shouldn't be such a huge gap of inequality. That's what we daven for. But the fact that there is a gap is a blessing. Because everyone has a way to give. As a matter of fact, we actually give to the Eibishter. To that extent, we give to the Eibishter. So that's not a way how to think. Real giving and getting is not about, you're missing the moment of Oisher, Amitis, who's giving a favor to someone. Doing a favor to someone is how a person feels good. Not by the what, not by the guf. It was again addressing the same thing, how real feelings, I had a story, I'll share a story. Once I'm saying it, I'll share a story. There was and then I'll get back to point number 4. There was a there was a diamond merchant here in 47th, and so he had a nest. So they're the guys that I know. He had a neighbor, and he was shot, and he survived. And so the kid, he went to the oil, and he brought his 13-year-old. And the 13-year-old was always gifted all the what's. And the iPad, and then, that's the kind of lifestyle they had. It's fascinating. He comes out of the oil. The young boy starts crying. See, sorry? Starts crying to me. He goes, Hashem. See, he says Israeli. He turns around, he tells me, he says, Tagid la'aba shali, and he looks at the iPad. And he רוצה שייתן לי כמה זמן לדבר איתי. Tell my father, I don't want his iPad. I simply want to have time to talk.
I want Papa.
Simcha is not from a what. Simcha is a feeling that I matter. I matter. I'm important. I have something to share. That's being Adam Lachaveroi, in the sense of giving someone that feeling, and that's being Adam La'atzmoi. Simcha is not what. Simcha is I matter. And that's the Nekudah of Hakabara Surah Al-Choymer. Choymer doesn't give Simcha. You can allow Simcha to flow in more Choymer. I have more, so I can bring who I am into those things that I have. But it's going to depend on me how I am to make that Simcha. Simcha is essentially a normal state of hope. Hope, and a healthy person. It's not an additional thing. There's two Simchas. There's Simchas Achaim, and then there's a Simcha Bahai. Simchas Achaim is simply a healthy, normal person. That's Simcha. And the guf is wired to want that. Some people will say, what do you mean? So you're neglecting the guf. You're not getting all the what? That's not true. Guf is asking, is begging, please define it, give me a story. I need your story. Guf is asking, give me your story. That's what we ask. For example, let me give you an example now in life. Give you an example. Two people have a beautiful home. This goes into Samech Dechaltei and Leitzim Masai. Right? You say two things in Pirkei Avos. We say Ezo Asher Samech Dechaltei, and then we say in Gemara, Mishi Yitzlei Mana Leitzim Masai. Someone who has 100 wants 200. So how does this play out? And this plays out in the same thing. Two people have a beautiful home. One person enjoys beauty. So when they have a beautiful home, they enjoy the beauty of their home. Is there a better? Of course it's better. But they're enjoying the moment that they have of beauty. One person, the reason why they want that home is because a friend has that home. So they never enjoyed it. There's only a hungriness. Choymer leaves you hungry. Surah, inside of you, leaves you satisfied. You can still want more, and go. Fine. But you're not left hungry. Person who has a koyach to sing. He looks at the other guy who's a better, you're enjoying your song. Sing your song. Enjoy it. He loves his song. He's not, that's it. When you look at the stories and the messages that you have, and that's Simcha. The moment you look at the Choymer, that's when Simcha is nothing. Want that out for me?
Yeah.
Story means to say a purpose. Story means to say a person has to feel like they matter. There's something unique they have. We say, Kol ha'olam nivra b'shvili. B'shvili nivra olam. Right? There's a word from someone, b'shvili nivra olam, and you say, on the other hand, you say, al-farata b'apatoshim. Right? The person has to have a juggling act of two opposites. But we hear b'shvili nivra olam means to say, I have the emes thing over here. And that's based on Hashgacha Pratis, like we'll see in the letter. Every single person has something unique that the Eibishter has for them, Pashut, that no one else can give to the world. Person recognizes, we say that all of Bifrat, Perek Namalach, right? We say all of Bifrat. But all of Bifrat, something, it's not just a word, something really unique in every individual that otherwise why are you born? You're not an accident. You're on purpose. If you're on purpose and you meet someone in the street by accident and say, hey, why, okay, it was an accident. But if someone came to meet you, there's got to be a reason. Someone came to meet you. There's got to be a reason for it. So when a person starts looking within themselves, they'll find something unique they have. They're going to start telling their own story. Then they're now, yesh osher, bismim. Then there's something inside that you have. It's your story. Your neshama, your teiches, your chushim are now coming out. The moment you look at chaymer only, that's the moment there's an absence of simcha. That's how the co-relationship works. Chaymer is matter.
Matter and source.
I want to know. Form and
It
matter.
would be form and matter. They say mind over matter. I don't know. It's not mind in this case. Surah is form. But it's sometimes the surah and the chaymer, everything would be in a table. The surah would be the shape. And the chaymer would be the fact that it's a piece of wood. A surah of a story, the words, and the message. And everything we have, there's a surah and there's a chaymer. There's a spirit to it, there's a feeling to it, and then there's a substance. It could be content and the way it expresses itself in the sense of materialism and even feeling is more tzura. And everywhere there's always a balance between these two areas. Guf and neshama, tzura and chaymer also. Okay? But the point that we're highlighting here, which is brought down, which is the main point, is chaymer is begging to be defined by tzura. It's not a contradiction. As a matter of fact, the only contradiction is in our own heads. Really, the way we're wired is chaymer is begging to be defined. The moment we recognize that, that's the moment we feel complete. Not without pain. There's still pain, but there's not love. You can.
But everything else is like matter and form is defined. Like a table is defined by its form.
Correct. The table is defined by its form, but a surah and a chaymer. So now a goy surah is just a human spirit. That's another discussion. A yid surah is a neshama, which means to say a yid will never be happy until they also come in touch with their surah amitis, which is their neshama also. But as a general, the chaymer and surah that we're talking about, that the chaymer is begging to be defined, is only in the human. That's what you're asking, is only in the human, not in a table, not in a chaymer of a table. Only in the human. Oisi was another example given, which is similar to guf. Oisi also is begging to be defined. Give me a story to tell. Give me a message to. It has A, B, C. It has a function, but it doesn't have a message. Give me a message or a story that I can.
A goy doesn't have, it won't have neshama, just doesn't
Yeah,
have,
but he doesn't have Torah mitzvahs. That's the only difference. That's the only difference.
it doesn't have any message of too, but he is.
Correct. So in other words, we had that. We talked about the difference between a yid and a goy in the other share. Here, what we're talking about is the nikud of simcha. But now, the simcha that we're going to have is going to be totally messed up. Let's get to the letter, and we'll see the simcha that we have is not just hagbara surah l'chaymer. What's the story that we tell? You have to tell two kids with two different talents tell two different stories. We have to tell the Jewish story, and part of that is hashgacha pratis. That helps us tell our story that we actually matter very much. Right?
And a goy doesn't have hashgacha pratis?
Not in the same way. There's a hashgacha pratis in everything, but not in the same way as a yid. We give the example of the story of the other class, but we give an example of the business with the son who comes into the business and he's trained in. Yeah. So a yid has a different hashgacha pratis. The father is actually looking. He's looking at. He wants you to become the next owner. He needs you. There's a reason why he puts you into the business. So every movement you're making in that business is by design in the sense of you taking it over. Not to be fed by but we'll get to the hashgacha pratis part in a second. Let's finish with Agbara Surah al-Chaymer, so we get this idea of one main point here is Chomer is not a contradiction. Chomer has no real definition. You start off with contradiction, it's not a contradiction. Chomer is begging to be defined. Matter in the sense of words or in the sense of a body is an absence of any, it's nothing. It's begging to be defined. And that, when we give it a definition, that's when it matters. It feels good. And when you don't give it a definition, it's giving you that feeling of being pulled down. That's how these two feelings play out. Let's continue on the handout. So that leads us to 4. 4 is, guf activities are essentially there to allow the penetration of message. That's the only function that we have for these guf activities. You need to be healthy, you need to be strong, you need to be vital. All of these things, and now I can tell my story. The moment you don't have the story, you're not going to feel, the guf won't feel good. And that's why, essentially, the reason why people seek purpose is they're seeking a story. They can exercise and they can eat healthy, but they're seeking purpose. Because they're seeking a story. So that's number 4. And number 5, I brought out this example.
Motivator. Stories.
The word motivation, how do people motivate? What does motivation mean? So a person's stuck. You tell them you have a story. That's motivation. In one word, that's motivation. All motivation boils down to that. I feel stuck. Oh, you don't understand who you are. You're basically telling them they have a story. Beautiful. That's what motivates a person. That's what inspires a person. And that's what we want, and we seek, and that's how we define ourselves, like we said in number 2. That's naturally, and that's what we're waiting for. Give me my story, now I feel better. It doesn't take away pain. We're going to get to pain. It doesn't take away pain. Of course it's pain. There's challenges, there's things. It takes away feeling lost. I have a story. Actually, in Chassidus is brought down, and I brought that in number 5, one of the points of number 5, that the Beis Hamikdash was a place where the story was felt. The world was created with words. The Dvar Hashem Shamayim Nasu. The Yiddish is an author. He's a speaker. Right? Dvar Hashem Shamayim Nasu. The word, Dvar Hashem Shamayim Nasu. The Yiddish created the world with Faram. Right? And the words, the way they're in the Beis Hamikdash is Chika. Chika, we talk a lot about that. The idea the words are through and through. What's the idea of words and through? We say, Oisi is Chakika and Oisi is Chika. What's the idea behind it? In one word, do I hear the message within the word? Are they permeated and saturated in those words, that those words are shouting out a story? Or do I feel stuck in the words and I don't hear the story? In the Beis Hamikdash, you heard the story. There was a lot of stuff going on over there. You saw the author. It was an amazing author over there. The rest of the world, Asia doesn't give us that experience, but it's essentially the same Sukkot that's brought down. The Chassidus brought down that example for the same thing. Again, in every area of words, it's how much you feel the message, how much you feel the story, and how much you feel the chomer, the vehicle that is being brought up. Now let's go to 6. So how can we accomplish this? So what happens when a person gets stuck? He gets stuck in the grind of life. So how does a person allow their message to come out when they're stuck? Exactly like I said a second ago, motivation. You stop. The same way the author wrote the book, we have to keep on writing our story. A moment of stuck is a moment that we lost touch with our story. So the moment the person stops, why are they stuck? Because they lost touch that they have a story. The moment they stop and they rethink, I'm important, I matter. That's which is going to be our talk about this. Okay, it's not just words in the letter. That's the moment that the purpose comes back again, the story comes, and then some other words flow in a different way. Exactly like the author, exactly like we said before. This is the paradigm we use for Guf and Neshama. And this is what we do in the daily, and this is the gashing what people do. What do people do in their stuff? They talk to themselves in their mind, or they recognize it. What's recognition? It's all about a person feeling, ich bin etwas. I have a purpose. There's a reason. And that leads us to the example, I gave a few examples I gave an example of the musician. We gave an example of scripted words and writing something. And that gives us the example of beauty for the sake of beauty, like I said before, in the house. Number 8. That gives us for the beauty for the sake of beauty versus the person who wants to stand out. You want to stand out, you're never going to stand out because there's always more to stand out. So you're standing really out, not in. So that's not going to help you. But if you enjoy beauty, that's beautiful. So you enjoy it. So then you can enjoy it now. You can enjoy it further. Enjoy it. Find the enjoyment and let that come out. That's beautiful. That's what beauty is. And so your feelings and moments is essentially Sameach Techalke. And that's essentially Simcha. Simcha is the moment has a story. How do you feel a moment? What is it? Because I have a story every moment of my life. I'm not for then. I just Rebbe writes in a lot of letters.
Constantly. We have around our life.
We have to constantly. The chashish is the difficulty in saying our story. That's enough of a chiddush for us. We have enough moments that we don't feel like I want to say my story. So we have to continuously make our story happen. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. We'll get that in a second.
What does I have to recognize I have a story? What do I have to do? How do I define my story? Go back. That's precept.
How do I know my story? And what happens when I go to stumbling blocks? We're going to get to the letters in a minute. It's not a new story. In other words, Yitzchak is not you don't have any new story. The Eibusher has one story for you. That's you. I don't always know myself. And I don't always even look to know myself. First I have to look to know myself.
People don't know what their divine purpose is.
There's a letter that I read. So I'll share with you a letter. So I'll share with you a different letter. I don't have it here, but I'll share with you a different letter. It was a girl that wrote into the Rebbe. So she was before the Chasna, and she was writing about where she should live. So she writes to the Rebbe. She's a Greisa Amunah. So she writes to the Rebbe, I want to live next to my parents in Eretz Yisrael. And anyway, the Eibusher can be mefarned someone wherever they are. If I'm roi, I'll get it. And if I'm not roi, I'm chashish omnish. So if I'm worthy, if I'm worthy.
She's talking about financially.
Yeah. So therefore, I want to live next to my parents. I'm going to live in Eretz Yisrael. I'm a maimin in the Eibusher. But I want to live next to my parents. And anyway, it's in the hands of the Eibusher. So I might as well go to if the Eibusher wants. You can make it up. He doesn't want to. Oh, the Rebbe gives it to her. Smart. The Rebbe tells her. The Rebbe tells her when it comes to looking for banos, a person has to look facing Teva. According to your kishlonis, where you can develop them. I'll bring it next week. According to your specific places and kishlonis. And that looks like more likely in America, and not in Israel. And then the Rebbe continues there and tells him, you're telling me you have gaguim to your parents? That's not a reason to make a haflata for serious tishanim for tens of years because of your gaguim to your parents. As a matter of fact, the Rebbe tells her, when a person is far away from their parents, they become independent. And they're able to develop their chushim even better. So you're talking about how a person knows their story. You don't have to go to spiritual. You go to your koiches and the chushim that Hashem gave you, pashut, they got you, is who you are. Persons are good in whatever they're good in, that's their story. You don't need anyone to tell you your story. You have your story. You have your story and you know your story. You might want other stories. That's fine. That's fine. But you have a story. Be comfortable with your story. Realize that someone else does not have your story and start saying your story. But that's what it is. There's nothing spiritual. There's nothing. Simply your kaiches and chushin that the areas that you were put in, the circumstances, quote unquote, that you were put in, that's all by purpose. Because it's part of your story. Things that come your way. These are all things that are part of our story. Let's go to the letter, so we can right away jump into that. Older people also, no, I would assume. I'm not older yet, but I would assume. I think it's a teva of people, not necessarily. Younger, maybe more. No. Sure.
But that's a temporary That's like that. People that are into
The chapter. Okay, let's see the letters. So there's one. Let's go to the first letter.
They want spiritual.
That's true. People can get good feelings. What's that number 10? Number 10.
Now we're done the letter. We'll go through the letters and we'll see that. So the first letter we have here whatever writes, I'll say it in English, but I'm basically reading through the Hebrew as I'm saying it in English. I got your letter from 15th of May, and I'm happy that you're interested in Chassidus. The first letter, yes. Number 14, Simcha letter. I got your letter, and I'm very,
On the top.
yeah. And I'm happy to see that you're interested in Preides HaChassidus and the Hashkafa of Chassidus. Befrat Inyan of Simcha. I'm happy that you're interested in how Chassidus terms Simcha. How does Chassidus look at Simcha? So let me share with you how Chassidus looks at Simcha. What we spoke about is basically this letter. But this letter is very concise. So now, this person obviously had his own way of looking at Simcha. And he wrote that to the Rebbe, and his own way was that the Regesh HaSimcha is connected to some kind of hormones of a person that come together with the flow of blood to the mind. So I understand it probably like when a person does exercise, they have more of a blood flow. So that's like a hormonal reaction that a person feels good. So he was trying to bring out, hey look, the person feels down. And now you want to be the Simcha. He's writing to the Rebbe, look, I found, you're talking about Rebbe, Tzuda. I'm telling you, I found it in life. This is how you do it. You do exercise and you do things and there's other ways how you can manipulate and get the guf to get going and the blood flow. And now suddenly I feel good. That's Simcha. The Rebbe explains a few lines. He doesn't explain it over here, but he's in other places explains it. He says, no, you're mistaken. And after we spoke, we can understand it. The guf and nefesh are connected, very much connected. They're not partners like we spoke about, but they're rather becoming one. Like we explained that the guf is seeking to be defined by nefesh. That's the point the Rebbe is alluding to over here. This property of guf, not that it's a partner, but that it's seeking a definition, like a Talmud, which is simply the Gashmis, we see that. How they move in, therefore it's understood that of course, any kind of movement of nefesh is going to express itself. When they become one, they flow as one. You see the words, you're going to see, hey, these words are amazing words. It's not the words, it's the author that's coming out in those words. Oh, that author has very good words. That's the vocabulary of the author. Don't get mixed up over here. It's not like this author went to special school with special vocabulary. His experience is flowing in those words, so you're getting caught up in thinking it's vocabulary. It's not vocabulary, my friend. This is a story that he's telling. And he has a gift that he's able to flow it into those words, and those words are being defined by his experience. That's what he's referring to. Then he goes in another line and he says, this concept of becoming one is not only in our personal lives, but it's also in the Olam HaGadol. We spoke about this at length when we spoke about challenges of life. How the world itself, apples and oranges example we gave back then, I'll repeat it now just so it adds a little bit of clarification. Just like we see, it's the same idea. It's the same idea of apples and oranges that we spoke about in Olam HaGadol. This is the same idea of the author in Olam HaChassid. There's also promise to finish in time, so I'm going to do this quickly. So there's an example of that we spoke about then, which is a math teacher that comes into a classroom, and he's teaching math. So he tells the students, we have one apple, we have another apple, 1 plus 1 is 2. So the principal comes in to test them, and the principal says, I heard you learned math, 1 plus 1 is 2. Let me ask you, you have 2 oranges, 1 orange and another orange. How many do we have? So the brightest kid in the room picks up his hand and says, we only learned about apples, not about oranges. What's the idea behind it? Ideas flow into chomer. Ideas flow into the apples and oranges. So really, this is a mashal which we're not going to discuss now about the whole world Hashem created. It's one idea. And it flows into Simcha, it flows into Ave, it flows into all the inyanim of Teva. There's a deep idea that's embedded here within the specifics, and that's really the function of what we encounter. Then Guf and Nefesh are really also. There's an idea that's coming out in Guf, a story that's coming out. He's alluding to that in the sense of Olam Chasam, Olam Gadol. We have a comparison here on how the message defines the words. The words are not defining the message. Good.
I just what you say about Simcha. There is something that I don't understand, something with Simcha.
Planting. You plant a seed. So that there's a discussion in the Chassidus that when you plant a seed, it's an example of creation. You're creating. There's a moment of absence. We spoke about this a different time. There's a moment of absence here, and that's the idea. And Hashem created that to show us what it means, creation. Right? I just brought it as a paradigm, just like we have ideas are flowing into the Olam HaGadol, the same thing in the Olam HaChasam. In a person's life, the same idea with the Guf and Nefesh. But we're not going into Olam HaGadol. Right? Okay. It's a very heavy paragraph here. So, Dugma la'achus hamitish of Olam HaGadol, huloikedash shitas fanaticism.
Pantheism. Wait, what line is that?
What's pantheism?
Pantheism. That's what they worship before Avraham Avinu. Energy, the nature.
Oh, that's what it is, yeah. I was asking if you could...
Still exists.
That what? That you worship nature? So why did you call it later shitas materialism? Okay, what?
They worship what's tangible, even energy is tangible.
So there's a differentiation between pantheism and materialism?
In many ways.
Yeah? Okay, I'm not aware.
Matter is mostly tangible. Energy, you need to be already super sensitive and have equipment to measure. But they do what people that are into pantheism do absent healing.
So they have more of a
they have
something. Okay, fine.
Fine.
So he's saying not like them. Sha'akohu teva v'chomer. That materialism is more chomer, not teva is more so. Okay, fine. But lehepch. Sha'akohu ruchnius.
So how would you define that?
For example, we today worship science. Because look what science has achieved. I mean, look at the phone.
That's fantasy. That's what it is.
That's energy.
So how does it differ from materialism?
There's no creator here anymore.
And how does that differ from a person who makes materialism the most important thing? Materialism is not science.
That's heavier.
How would you differentiate the two?
The quantum physics, for example, is closer to pantheism.
Okay. Well, regardless, whether that is trying. Right. Pantheism means many gods? Oh, that's what it means? So that's what it is. There's many different... Okay, that is interesting. Okay. Well, everything is one. Then we move on. I appreciate that. I was asking a few people what is pantheism over here. I didn't know what pantheism is.
There's a difference between the faith. Aus is Gott and Gott is Aus.
Yeah.
Okay? So if Aus is God, so the dog is also God, and I'm also God because...
Sounds very good.
The energy.
That's like the India stuff and that kind of stuff?
Well, they have...
I had at first...
country has their own philosophy.
Okay. So let me just...
How do you define...
But let's not get carried away with pantheism. The Nikuda, the letter is not about that. Let's get back to the Ikir here. This first paragraph here is coming to highlight that Simcha comes as a consequence of Hagabara Surah L'Chaimer. It comes from Surah, from Ruchnis. It's Ruchnis over here, to put it in simple English, means a person's story, message. For a Yid, That's the ruchniistic message as well. They have a story to tell. As we're, the hashgacha pratis of a yid, whatever the person is put into life for. And we'll see this paragraph is going to be a little bit more ba'arichus when it comes to two people that are complaining about problems in their life. So then the Rebbe goes into more hashgacha pratis, and that you have something important to tell in life, which is what he's saying over here, that hakuhu ruchni. That's what he's trying to tell this person. Let me jump into the next letter, where the Rebbe...
No, the Rebbe emphasizes those ruchnis, but then he says, Lamala mizesh hakol elokut. In other words,
hakol elokut means to say, hakol hu elokut, no, that's not ruchnis. Hakol hu elokut refers to what we said before, that when the guf comes together with neshama, when an example we gave of an author and word, the words speak the story. They don't speak when you look at the book that's shouting out the story, the words themselves are saying that story. It's not like the words say, hey, I want to say a different story. Okay, I'm going to agree to say your story. No, the words are all about your story. Hakul means we're all here and saying a certain story. The story is coming, the ruchnis comes out of us. That we are a story. And we have to tell that story. And we have to just come with us with our story that we have. It's not saying that we're spiritual. The spiritual is within you. Okay. Yeah, this person started off saying that we can get simcha through the guf, like chemical things. So he's telling you, you're not going to get simcha. You're going to get a chemical reaction, but at the end of the day, you need to have the nefesh flowing into guf, which means you need to have a story to have simcha. He's not bringing it out over here what it means, ichud ha-nefesh im guf. He just tells him, you should know you're missing the point. Your whole understanding of how guf and nefesh connect, you're missing the point. They connect in such a way that they become one, and you don't realize who's who. What is he trying to say? What does that mean? What he's trying to bring out is that the guf, the way it connects, is not a partnership. So one of them has a role, and I can manipulate. So I'm also the guf is connected so much that it's speaking the story of nefesh. So you think now it's the guf. It's not the guf. The guf is speaking the nefesh story. And it's only if you have the story, it's going to be simcha. That's what he's telling him. Only if you're going to have the story, you're going to have the simcha. Even when a person is exercising, they have energy.
What's the story?
The story means a person's mission, a person's tafkid, a person's tachlis, a person's purpose. The word purpose.
So the guf is being used to fulfill the tafkid.
If the guf feels, then it's going to experience a moment of purpose. It doesn't feel lost. The gashmi. What's a moment of opposite of simcha? I feel lost. I don't matter. What's the moment of simcha? Essentially, I matter. I have something important to do. I matter. That's nefesh. You can bring, now there's something in guf. Guf can be feeling down. So yeah, you can exercise and you can be energy. But now that you have energy, now what? Now, hey, what am I going to do? You have all the you-knows that come afterwards. And then the person is back down again. So then you have to bring a nefesh into there. There has to be a purpose. Otherwise you're going to be knowing the whole day.
If true simcha is only when the group experiences the mission and they're one, how is it that the body is able to mimic that and we're able to have endorphins?
So the body is for moments feeling the mission. Even the person who does exercise, the person who does it, he feels good. Right. He jogs, he feels good. Right. Now he sits down, he's like, hey, now what? Now what? So now what? So he has to have a story to tell. He has to say, oh, you know what? I feel good today because I helped someone. Okay, so it feels good. So the exercise takes away blockages. Yeah, it takes away heaviness of guf. Allows the guf to connect. Once the guf connects, it's got to say a story. Now it connects. So what are you saying?
Connects to what?
To its feelings, to its neshama. So the guf connected, they have to work. The guf is going to have to say, I feel like I helped someone. For me, helping someone is an amazing feeling. I feel very good today because of that. Someone's like a non-Jew, right? But you'd have to have another thing too. So when he's down, he can't feel nothing. So he does exercise, he gets energy, and now he feels like, now I'm going to do the thing that I always like to do. And help someone, I feel so good. But if he's just going to sit down, he has no purpose, and he has no story, he has no nothing, he's going to feel down again. It's going to be all over again. He got his group to say, it's like a student and a teacher. The student is thirsty, he needs knowledge. So he's going to look for teachers, Then he finally found the teacher. Now go in and listen to this class, and listen to the teacher, listen to the purpose, and now you have something in your head. But if you're just gonna say, "Oh, I found the school I want to go to," but doesn't go in and listen and actually pay attention and internalize it, the guf has to connect to the neshama. So it can feel down. Exercise allows it to connect. Now it's there. Now speak, connect, say the story. Now allow the story to come out. What story do you want to say? How do you feel? How do you come home and say, "I felt a good day"? What's going to make you feel good? I don't know. I'm confused. I need exercise to think. Okay, fine, think. Well, who are you? What are you? The what are you is going to be a moment of the story. Well, yeah. The moment there has to be a moment of the story that the guf is going to have to say over. The guf is seeking for a story. There's two kinds of simcha. There's simcha from pain. We'll see a letter. The simcha of pain and the simcha of feeling well. The person goes in the car for 400 miles. You ask him, "Why are you in the car?" "I'm going to visit my mother." Okay, very good. "Why are you in the car?" "I don't know, the driver is taking me." "I don't know, I have no clue." "Can you tell me where we're going?" 5 minutes later, "Don't worry, you're going to get there." "Where are we going?" You don't have a purpose, you're going to be very frustrated the whole time. You're lost. You're frustrated. When you have a purpose, the 400 miles is still 400 miles, but you have a purpose that you're going to. So the purpose is traveling with you every moment. So now the traveling has a different purpose. A person wants a purpose. A person wants to have, so now I feel good. But what am I? Who am I? That can only be defined by nefesh. That's not defined by guf. And the guf is seeking for the nefesh to define it. And the nefesh over here means to say the person's powerless.
You try to say something about simcha's pain.
So let me show you the pain inside. Show you pain, I'll show you pain. So there's two letters over there. The first letter is a lady that writes.
Okay. So you went to the next page?
The next page? So the other writes, "I'm very bizarre, aggravated to hear that your wife's not feeling well." But the first letter, "Kibalti mechtovay, mimotza Shabbos Kodesh Truma," and I'm very aggravated to hear that your wife is not feeling well. But look how that ever takes in a word. But it's not enough that she's not feeling well, but you're writing in your letter that she's very much not feeling well. The word "very," that's your addition. And that's your mother Shchayra that's writing that. And that's in addition to your own nerves and your wife's nerves. In other words, in addition to the actual problem, you're aggravating the problem by adding words of very much up. So there's pain in life. But we can add heaviness to that on our own. The next letter, I just wanted to show you that. And then the other goes, okay, you know what, this whole paragraph, okay, what's it ever write up here? What does it ever tell him? How does it ever answer him? You're not lost. The other sense is, what's the problem with this? So why is the guy saying, I'm very much in pain? The person is very much lost. And there's no connection to the story. Very much. Mechanish. Then there was no. You have a purpose, a shtucha pratis, all of this stuff. He goes to the whole paragraph here. You have to know that he has you in mind, a mashgiach on you and your family and your children. You're all by purpose. Yeah. He goes through the whole thing up here, the shtucha pratis, how he has you, and he has mizaynus from Rosh Hashanah. He goes through the whole thing, how the Eibishter is caring specifically about you. Hashtacha pratis. Why? You matter. You have something specifically in store for you. Person thinks about that, it's not going to take away that his wife's going to feel better. It's going to take away that he feels very much in pain. The feeling of loss. Desperate. Desperate comes from, there's nothing to do, I'm lost. The next letter is a similar letter where the person writes that, and the Rebbe is quoting him, after a while that I didn't hear from you, I'm happy to hear from you. But I'm not happy to see in your letter that you're thinking about the health of your children, but you end with a question. What can I do besides crying? Only thing I'm left to do, in other words, he was so emotionally upset to the extent, nothing. I'm lost. That was not enough. Erstens darf man aufhören weinen. We have to stop crying. The second letter. He's not telling you not to have pain. Well, he's telling you not to have an emotional pain. No, he's telling you, don't feel desperate. Stop with it. I have nothing to do, but I have to cry. Their word is an expression of desperate. I'm lost. I have nothing. There's nothing left in me. It's been a garnish. That's a dangerous train of thought. Stop that. That's the first thing. Then he quotes from the Rebbe from the Simcha. What's Simcha? Simcha is not feeling lost.
What is Malak?
The Mer Molike following the oft-repeated expectation of the Friedrich Rebbe, the name of the daily Yisrael from the Friedrich Rebbe is Idus Hashem the Simcha. And it's right declared in Zayir, and it's explained in Zayir, that when we are the Simcha, Nishtarki B'tochen. What's connected to Simcha B'tochen? Simcha brings the confidence. What's confidence? Confidence is I'm not lost. I have a purpose. I am someone that has to do something. So if I'm by purpose here, and the Eibishter has me in mind, then I can somehow trust. What's trust? The first elementary level is there's something for me to do. So whatever is going on there's a reason. So it gives me a sense of stability, a sense of purpose, a sense of something that it doesn't take away pain. It doesn't take away pain. It takes away loss.
How we ever look for a reason and try to really understand that reason?
Of course.
We always know reasons?
No, we're not looking for reasons. We're not looking for reasons.
Looking for stuff about it. Looking for stuff about it.
No, I hear what you're saying. We're not looking to understand the reasons why things happen. We're looking to impress upon ourselves that we are important. And everything that we encounter and we do has a purpose. I'm the one person. That's what Hashgacha Pratis means. Yeah, I don't have to understand.
We can also look at it in a different way. We don't always know. Right?
You're looking to explain. Why did I miss the flight? Because whatever. You're right. I'm saying, right, those kind of stories. Sure, that's nice, but that's not what he's referring to. What he's referring to is a recognition. Person should have a recognition in their head wherever they go, whatever comes across their way. You know, when you're in the house and you're watching a child walk. I mean, we have these neshama all the time, right? So there's a watchful eye of the parent to make sure. There's all of the prat. Hashgacha Pratis means Hashem is he's a hamashgiach. He's a mashgiach. He's looking. The moment we're not an accident. We're not an accident. If we realize we're not an accident, that helps take away a feeling of loss. To some degree. It doesn't take away a feeling of pain. It takes away a feeling of loss. That's what it is. But there's room for you to be proactive. When you feel lost, you can't be proactive. You can't do anything. When you don't feel lost, then you're a mensch. You're on a road of 400 miles. It's a shver road. It's in a car. There's no food. You have to stop and gas. Fine. But you know there's a matara. You're not going to stop and go, forget it. The whole thing's not worth it. What am I doing? No, you know there's a matara. So keep on going. Eventually, either yes or not, I'll find out what the matara is. But there is a matara. For me specifically. I don't have to always understand. I'm not going to understand. Yeah.
Crop up and
yeah.
So then we say, I don't know what it is, but there is a matara. So maybe I'll find out. Maybe I won't, but I know there's a matara. So that takes the edge off the pain, even though the pain is still there.
That's That's what, in simple words, that's what it means. That a person, it's not so simple. It's not so simple a person to hear that, to feel that in when they're actually going through the heart.
You say that a person's on the road for 400 miles and they're not knowing where they're going, but I'm saying,
You're screaming now, don't you?
No, I'm just saying, what you're saying is that one person is going to visit his mother, so he knows where. The other person is saying, I'm on this road, but it's a practice on this road, so I'm going to keep on traveling, but I don't know which to. What the purpose is, it makes the traveling a little slower and harder, wouldn't you say?
You mean a person keeps on getting lost somewhere? So you come to
but what about if you're given a map?
You don't really have a GPS.
But we do now. We do now. The example that the Rebbe gives here is.
When we have, I mentioned this last time.
I'm not saying this as, I'm saying.
But I want to say something.
And I feel that I'm like, the average, I feel that way, I would say there's 50% of people that there's above average, and there's a middle, right? I'm the plain Jane. So if I feel some way, I assume some person along the line, and then people along with me who feel similar sentiments. Huh? Yeah, absolutely.
Look, no one is saying that you're a boide, and you know the reason for creation.
I'm saying, how do we get to, because you're saying that Simcha is when we realize the Ashkaka. I mean, Ashkaka is because we know that we have a physical. How do we come to that point of recognition? You're talking last time, it's not accepting what Hashem said, it does, it's not as yet, it's very different. And it's a question. It's a real question.
I'll tell you this, there's two frustrations. There's one frustration that a person can have a chayav haprotim. In other words, a chayav haprotim in his personal life. In the sense of meaning, who am I? People look around, this guy's this, this guy's this, this guy's this. Who am I? So there we say, your inyan and pratim that you have are your gifts, and you have something important. You have your tafsir, you have your koya, you have your sviva, you have your area of influence. You have your tafsir. So the frustrations that we have as a consequence of not recognizing our own shivas, that's number one. The thought of the person. Then there's frustrations of life, challenges of life, right? So over there, we're not meant to understand why it happens. Because I don't know why you'd be the Eibishter, right? And maybe you'll do things differently. I don't know. But the bottom line is we don't know why. And you're not going to know why. So the frustration of actually Simcha helps you not ask why, in a sense. It helps you a little bit not ask why. When you know there's a purpose for things, well, not asking why is probably a good thing anyway. It's not acceptance as in you can daven that it should change, but asking kvetching is basically what we're saying. This person, these two people here were kvetching. Kvetching comes when a person keeps on saying, why did it happen? Why doesn't it let you do something? So do something. And where did Rebbe say it over here that actually changing that is going to bring more something? He says that.
They don't see the purpose, and they don't see that they have the ability to come over it.
Are you saying that the minute you do something, you change your destiny, and then you introduce a little something?
Simcha said it. He says. Okay, let me just translate another line over here. He says clearly that when a person does have this kind of attitude, it's also a segula that they should give him Milmaila more and more things to be happy from.
Which attitude?
This attitude that I have a purpose, and I have this, and the Simcha attitude in the sense of that there is a matara for me. That attitude in itself is a psicha, is an opening, and a skula, or skula is the word he uses, that I should actually have more things to be happy from. That's a Pesach. But that's what Hashem b'simcha. Is there? It comes from. But I would think even a.
East down. It takes a lot of introspection and a lot of being open to the fact that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in store for you is exactly your desire.
It doesn't mean to accept. You can still daven.
Okay, it doesn't mean.
It means not. Yeah, it doesn't mean surrender. That's what it means. It doesn't mean surrender. It means I'm not angry.
Right.
I'm not angry. Right. Anger is I'm not desperate and I'm not angry. I'm upset. I'm crying. But I'm not desperate.
You said something very important that really spoke to me. You said something about when you do something, you could cry or you can do something. When you do something, so you're not allowing yourself to be the victim,
right.
And then when Hashem sees that you're not being angry and you're doing something, He says, "Typically,
That's right.
That's
right. Very well. Very well said.
A little bit. Now I'll show you.
Very well. That Pesach Shalmachat is that attitude. We're not meant to fix things. That's the opening that we have. That's the only thing you could do. That's the only thing you could do. What can you do? You can't change the situation.
Right.
You can simply look at it in a different way. Right. Try to look at it in this way, or not look back and look. And that helps you. Yeah. Good. So let's summarize back to this. Handouts and finish. That's number 10 on the paper, and number 10, the Rebbe over here wrote, stop crying. He wrote to them, why you're very anxious. Essentially, he's telling you the guf needs to accept a purpose. Allow your guf to feel a purpose. It doesn't take away pain. It doesn't take away anxiety, yes. What it does is, it allows you to feel you're important, and now feel how you can take your next step, your next step, your next step. Don't get overwhelmed with the pain. I can't, like the person says I can't, or the person is very anxious. That's what it does. And in a nutshell, what did we learn over here? We discussed it's not a contradiction between Chaymer and Surah. It's not a contradiction as if your guf really wants a certain thing and now you have to overlook them. No. Your guf is begging to be defined. Essentially, we're all begging from ourselves. Give me some purpose that I have important to do. They say even in volunteers, how is it that volunteers can sometimes do a better job than an employee? Why? You have this many times. Because a volunteer is a mission, is a purpose.
Isn't it because they're doing what they want to do?
Yeah. Not only they want, but they have a purpose. In other words, they're driven. Yeah, they want, but they're driven. A volunteer is usually driven by a purpose.
Okay.
An employee, yeah.
Could I give an example of that?
Yeah, sure.
They did experiments with the two groups, and they put them each in a room to look at a green dot for 20 minutes. One was paid, one group was paid, one wasn't. And then they asked them when they came out, they didn't speak to each other. Was it interesting or not? Fill out a questionnaire. One group said fascinating, the other group said boring, out of our minds boring. Which group, the paid one or the non-paid, said fascinating?
The non-paid one.
The non-paid one.
Not paid.
The one that was paid is boring though, getting paid. The ones that were paid were not paid. What am I doing here? Am I crazy? I have to justify in my mind. This is fascinating to be on anything. So they had to have a purpose. Otherwise they thought, I'm nuts to be sitting here. So they had to
convince them.
We didn't have to go here. We had shulchan. My son told me that his in-laws, they had many people, 30, 40 people every Shabbos, and it's a tremendous amount of work. And he told me, well, the thing is that his mother won't do it. She's on a mission. So one's on a mission, but that's when you have a defined mission, and that is.
Well, you do have a defined mission. Every single person has a family, has a circle of friends, has a people that they're in contact with, has things that they do on a day-to-day basis, and that's your mission. Why are you less a mission than anybody else? You're now making your mission less. You just made your mission insignificant. But 1 second. You just put down your mission. Why do you have to go to China? You don't have to go to China and India to have a mission. You can be living in your own house. That's a better story. That's the problem. When you look at other stories, it's a problem. We don't have to look at other stories. We each have our own story. Wherever you are, that's a story. That's it. Every group is a shliach.
The only thing is that once all of the things that motivated people as their mission to move forward and get up every morning start to break down, and they're no longer trustworthy, then the entire society starts to break down, and people's motivation is gone. And what Hashem is demanding is that they become motivated from a much deeper level. Not that you had a seat on the Western Wall or whatever, but a much deeper motivation. I don't want you, I don't want your gun aid, I just want you.
So maybe on a different level, I would assume as someone that throughout the lifespan at certain ages, everybody's involved in their day-to-day activities. Could be their day is full with certain things. So when those things start going away, so then a person has time to infuse their day with. Then they seek something more. You're always seeking, and you've got to actually that letter of parnas that ever writes to the girl. I'm not telling you that your parnas is going to be there all the time. I'm telling you that's what it's now. It could evolve, and it could change. But that's what you have to do for now. Things evolve. People keep on. Why? And the fact that you want something more and you're not just going to sit on the couch is because your group always wants to have motivation, always wants to have purpose. You might volunteer for a hospital. You might learn. You might do more things. Whatever it might be that you're going to bring some other piece of identity to your, but that's a constant thing that a person does. That's what we do. That's what we do.
There were, in lifetime, a lot of women who were taught as young people that their mission and purpose was to be a mother and a wife and a teacher of their young children. Now, when their children became, hopefully, independent of them, and their husband, let us say, was still working in the field, then they started to feel like what you said, without motivation, they didn't have a purpose. So if they weren't in a community or in a relationship with other women or other people, they felt lost. They didn't have an identity anymore because they were maybe body once in a while or whatever. And they were no longer mommy, maybe sometimes. Oh, my soup spilled over, what can I do? But their inner push was no longer an identity.
Interestingly enough, the other right today, this is to be learning B'chal. Go back to them. Learning B'chal is only for men. Right? And then it became, not only that, but there was a push, even other circles, that it should be for women. It should be exactly the same. Even more than that, Chassidus, the Rebbe pushed. Chassidus. You go back, it was only Zohar, only Yichidus Gula, and it came from Klaus. They were pushing something that, they said it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. So, and the Rebbe writes that women are essentially the machanchos of the next generation. That's what they are. So Chassidus is meant to help shape Chinuch. And it's just as relevant, if not more, to women and to men. So there's always a need for a person to learn, when they're in the job of machanechus, of their children, grandchildren, of their areas themselves, whatever it is, there's always room to
when they don't have, they talk at an old age, they give up on living.
You can, I can't talk to that.
What?
But I can't talk to that.
No, I realize, but I remember my mother-in-law. She used to come to give me something to do, even to peel apples. I kept peeling apples because she stopped embroidering. The embroidery wasn't in fashion. As long as I kept her busy, she felt the purpose. Then the group already, and I had no patience anymore. So, but now we have a whole generation of youth that's by age 15.
15, they're ready, they know it all.
Because you can fast forward and kind of experience everything vicariously that you could have experienced and over and burnt out, and so obviously Hashem is saying there's a way deeper connection and a way deeper matter possible when we're relying on the old motivations of what worked through time immemorial for Yidden, it has to be afraid and expand.
Again, I don't think Chassidus is a luxury. I don't think it was. Let me put it this way: a lot of Tisgamin are taught, but really, do we spend time to actually understand those Tisgamin?
No, a lot of people don't know what the 12 Sukkim are.
Even without the 12 Sukkim, the word Hashgacha Pratis that we had a few discussions on, the word. Even the word Simcha, just a simple meaning of what it means to the who I am. Chassidus is essentially telling you things that are not. I don't like you saying the word spiritual. Spiritual means not physical, as if you're a malach. That's not what it means. Chassidus is telling you within the group, not without the group. So that I don't know if that was used at the age of 15 already. It's not like it was a tool. Others, we're used to quick what do they call it? Catchphrases? Like these.
Empty
slogans and things that I can throw and remember, and that's it. And it's good for the moment. But a thoughtful thing, the word to validate a challenge, to validate a frustration, rather than to say, oh, it's going to go away. Things can go. No, it's a real thing. Chassidus never said, quote, it's a real thing. It's not, the 15 when they're frustrated because they never had anything real. If you have something real, then
They were given things to learn to pass the test, but not to internalize that from
anyway, I'm not 15. Okay.
Everyone here has one thing in common. We were all 150.
Yeah.
But you're not. But you don't. The 15 today is not the same.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, 30 Thank you very much. There are groups today, I don't know what's without it. I know there's other groups where women get together to say Tehillim together, or there's Halashim groups where they do it on the phone. They don't do it. They're not as literal. I get phone calls from friends who are in their 70s, and they're motivated to do these things. They say Tehillim together on the phone. Motivation, because the connect with other people. And somebody does it with Shem, this and this,